office helped. A little. Sometimes. She'd recently been promoted from copy editor to junior reporter, a big feat considering she was only 2 years out of journalism school, and the only female reporter at the magazine. Her editor had repeatedly called the owner of No Boundaries Survival Fox Mitchell, after a video of one of his gritty outdoor survival courses had gone viral and drummed up a lot of attention about the company. Mitchell hadn't returned a single call, and her editor was adamant to get an interview for next year's special edition on extreme survival courses for adventurists. Rudd had literally begged for the assignment, but Lulu was one step ahead of him. She had a surefire contact in Estes Park that could lead her directly to Mitchell, and she wasn't about to share her informant's name with anyone. Either she got the gig, or her editor could find another way to get the story. Playing hardball wasn't really her thing, but she'd wanted to stick it to Rudd. Plus, she really needed a big story like this to make her father proud and show him she was getting serious about her life. She'd left fashion behind and was focusing on her future with a real job, just like he'd wanted. This was her gig, and she'd go through hell or high water before she'd let Rudd take it from her. Pressing a hand to her forehead, Lulu took a moment to get herself together. It was early morning, with a chill hanging in the air. It felt refreshing after the red-eye flight. She filled her lungs with it and let the breath out. Some of her frustration with Rudd went with it, but not all. So far, nothing had been able to completely erase her angst over what he'd done to her. Pulling up the map on her phone, she hit start on the directions to Estes Park and got into the tiny red Fiat. She'd done in-depth research on Estes Park in preparation for pitching her boss to give her this story, and nothing about the location felt overly exciting. Tourist town, mountains, a historic hotel that claimed to be haunted. Meh. Not the place she'd consider staying a few days extra for a mini vacation, though she definitely needed one. She wasn't into rural life, or hanging out too long anywhere that didn't have high-rises, a screaming nightlife, and enough boutique shopping to keep her busy for days. According to her informant and former college roommate, Olive Burns, Fox Mitchell lived deep in the forest and conducted his survival courses high in the mountains. He didn't come into town all that often, and when he wasn't working, he was in Alaska or Utah, or some other godforsaken place to do more outdoorsy stuff. Ugh, the outdoors. The outdoors had bugs in it. Her throat tightened with an involuntary gag. She hoped Olive came through on her promise to introduce Lulu to Fox quickly, preferably at a restaurant or something, and not in the woods, so she could get this interview and get back to the city. She wasn't even at Estes Park yet, and she was ready to leave. The drive took about an hour, and by the time she arrived, her eyelids were heavy from the dregs of the early morning flight. She had purposely skipped coffee before her flight so she wouldn't have to use the public bathroom, or worse, the one on the plane. The GPS said she was only a few minutes away, thankfully, so she could caffeinate and find her hotel for a quick check-in before beginning her fox hunt. She snickered. Was Fox a fox? She'd looked him up online, and had only found one very obscure photograph of him. His tall, broad body was surrounded by mist in the photo as he stood on the edge of a cliff. A hood covered his head and most of his face, showing only the tip of his nose and a bit of beard. Aside from that intriguing photo, the man was a ghost online. His website was basic and no frills, sporting a photo gallery of students building shelters, starting fires, and cooking something in a tin can. Something with thin, pokey-looking legs sticking straight up. She gagged again. There wasn't enough money in the world to entice her to participate in half an hour of that nonsense. More or less 7, 14, or 21 hellish days, depending on the outdoor survival package chosen. The more days you participated, the more gear you were allowed to take with you. It was a rope versus pocket knife type decision. Screw that. She was staying in her hotel with room service and a full travel case of cosmetics. Thanks. The landscape gradually changed from city to sparse population, to rising hills and mountain peaks.